Hey, thanks so much for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to talk about the 3 top reasons why you might consider self-representing in your family law case. Stick to the end of the video because I'll go over resources that you're going to want to check out to support yourself if you do decide to self-represent. So if you are considering self-representing, it probably means that you're either being threatened with legal action by your ex, or you've already experienced legal action, and maybe you've checked out lawyers and seen how much they cost, or maybe you've already lived through some family law litigation and gotten the legal bills and you're like, this has to stop. That was my experience. I had a lawyer for 5 years defending myself against my ex and trying to protect my children. I finally ran out of money and got rid of my lawyer and self-represented, and I found it to be actually a really empowering, amazing experience. So I wanted to share the top 3 reasons why that was, and here's the number 1 reason. So the first reason is financial. Obviously, if you're not paying a lawyer $200-$400 an hour, you're saving thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the other piece about that I don't hear a lot about, and it's something I hadn't considered before I experienced it personally, was that if you're self-representing and your ex has a lawyer, then you can effectively rack up their legal bills anytime you want. As a self-represented litigant, you have direct access to just email your ex's lawyer. And so, I think it's something that you should do carefully and not abuse, so that you don't become a vexatious litigant or somebody who's creating problems where there aren't any. But certainly where you may have held yourself back from asking a question of your own lawyer, you could just fire that off to your ex's lawyer. And even if you don't like the response or whatever, you've still incurred a billable fee for them, which is pretty cool. After years of litigation abuse, I found it incredibly redeeming and empowering to have that ability to do that. So the second reason why self-representing is pretty good is that you have more control over the process. So what I found in working with a lawyer was there were these huge time lags where, I would send some information to them, or I would send a response to some correspondence we'd received. And then there would be this lag where days or sometimes even weeks would go by, and I'm, not sure if they're drafting something or if it's been sent, or what is the thing here. And, even to call the lawyer for a quick question or send an email, it costs money. So I would just sit there wondering what's going on, for fear of incurring more legal fees. And if you're self-representing, the control is all with you. You can remind the opposing counsel that you sent an email a few days ago and haven't heard back. You can draft responses and get paperwork in on your own time. You create it, you draft it, you review it, you edit it, and you send it when you're ready. You're eliminating that third party or the team of third parties, and it just gives so much more empowerment and spaciousness, where you're not waiting for other people and feeling this growing anxiety, wondering what's going on. And the third reason why self-representing is great is because nobody knows your story and your case like you do. And what I found one of the biggest problems when working with a lawyer is, I was constantly balancing out the importance of the information against how much it would cost to share that information and explain it properly, and then have it presented to the opposing counsel or to the courts. And I think this is a huge barrier in the family law system. I think if judges had the full story and the full narrative, they would be making different decisions. But the bottom line is, to get all that information to a judge, if you have a lawyer, costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in paperwork preparation for your lawyer to do. And it's just not reasonable. And so what you end up doing is you end up editing out and paring down and just ignoring entire pieces of your case and your story and your children's story that are important, but not important enough to spend $400 an hour to have your lawyer put it together in a meaningful way, right? So as a self-represented litigant, you're not having to make those choices as much. You can really just focus in on what's going to be impactful, what's going to steer the case and the matter in the direction you want it to, and you're not having to weigh out how much presenting that information is going to cost. And so that's amazing. So in closing, yes, self-representing is really scary. If you're going through the family law system, you are being attacked. You're being attacked and your children are being attacked, and you're probably experiencing not being able to create safety for yourself or your children in any type of meaningful way. And so the idea of then taking on a court system, which likely has already abused you, or you've heard other stories about how the court system creates trauma and abuse, it's scary. And so my suggestion is, don't do it alone. Check in your area if you have any lawyers who are offering unbundled services, or if there's any paralegals who offer their services directly to clients, or better yet, a paralegal who's taking the training in supporting self-reps, or if you can find a legal divorce coach. There's lots of divorce coaches out there, and they're generally for helping you with your difficult feelings around it. But there are some legal divorce coaches who specialize in understanding the law in your area and what forms are required and what the process is, because that's where the working confusion is as a self-represented litigant. Is you need to figure out which laws apply to your case, and that means reading through the family law rule book and figuring out what each one means and how it applies to your case. But there's also the formalities of the court system, which require, certain forms to be submitted in order to give the court information, and it's got to be in this format or that particular format. And just figuring that out on its own can take up so much time and resources. And so you can find these people in your area, and what they'll do is they'll help you strategize your case. They can give you direction on what forms are going to be required and what information you're going to need to provide. And then they'll send you off and you can create the documents and, generate the information yourself, and then either submit it to the court or send it back and have them review it before it's submitted. And they can coach you how to show up on your day of court and how to manage communicating directly with the judge on the day of your hearing. So I'm going to drop some resources for my Canadian viewers in the description down below. And if you are watching from a different country, hello and welcome. And if you know of any resources, please put them in the comments so we can help each other out. If you found this information helpful, please click like or click subscribe. It's free for you to do, and it lets YouTube know that this information is valuable, so it shares it with more people, or you could just share it with someone you think it would help. And thank you so much for your time. Take good care.